Okay, so we're going to get started setting up our compositing scene now that we've got all of our layers. We've got our 3D matte painting set up. We've got a few other 3D elements that we've created. We just got to get to the compositing now, although I think we are going to split the rotoscoping out into another video because that's a bit of a process there. So let's go ahead and get started. So I've got my last project open again, not the fabric one, not the birds, but just the where I left off with the image planes. So if you recall, we put different things on each layer: hut shadow, bridge, castle, and sky. So what we've got to do now is create layers for all of those to render properly. So let's call this one hut, and let's just add a whole bunch more layers and call this one hut shadow, and this one bridge, and this one castle, and this one sky. So hut, we've got the hut, this is the hut shadow, bridge, castle. Okay, so very easily, hut is only that one, hut shadow, that one, bridge, that one, castle, 4, sky, 5. Easy enough. Scene will be all of them. And there we go. Layers set up. Easy as that. I'm just going to set this up now. I'm just going to render JPEGs of the final and bake post compositing. We definitely want auto tile size. I guess this doesn't matter. Well, the 3D part, I guess. Sampling. Set this to, these all have emissions, so they can be pretty low. I'm actually going to go 20. I think you could do like 10 or something to be fine. Max, why is that up there? 4, 0. Alright, so let's save that. And now let's go ahead and jump into compositing. This is how I like my setup. I've probably gone over this on the blog before, but I prefer mine set up more like a traditional compositor, like Nuke, After Effects, Fusion, and anything. I like my timeline on the bottom, although I probably should put the timeline here, but kind of the After Effects way, keep it at the bottom. Node view, viewer, and then I've gotten into this habit of working where I put a little, well, let me just show you actually. Where are the nodes, right? There should be some. No? Nothing. None? Nothing. Alrighty then. I thought there were some slapped together, but apparently not. That's interesting. Usually you turn this on and there we go. That's what I was looking for. Turn the backdrop off. Leave this on. There we go. This is the same thing. Turn that off, and this is fine. So how I tend to like this setup is I turn my viewer, my composite, make them small. I'm just going to delete that for now. Oop, nope. Actually, don't do that yet. Control Z. I'm going to grab these two guys, move them over here, and shift to draw a line through there to create that, and make a little, I call this thing the output, and I tend to make it red, kind of saying that the comp stops here, the end of it, and that is what I like to see up in this window. So down here I can be looking, I could be like this, looking at this, or looking at this, and if I want to all of a sudden, why is that so bright? What's going on there? It's interesting. Oh, there we go. If I want to jump to the end comp and look, I can just click up here. It jumps to the end. Everything works good. So I'm going to delete a lot of this stuff. I'm going to leave this movie clip in here. I'm going to delete these. I'm going to delete that. We don't need any of this stuff. Render layers I will leave in. These things delete. And these things delete. Yeah, that's a good start, huh? Let's go ahead and I'm going to make this full size. That was Shift Spacebar. We'll do that. And I like this node to be nice. I'm going to move this back a bit because there's going to be a bunch of layers here, right? So, plug this into... Come on, give me that thing. It's not letting me have that. Alright, anyway, where were we? The layers. Hut. First one, hut. We are just going to alpha over that. However, the hut is not going to be our first one. The first thing we're going to bring in, if I duplicate this render layer, is the sky. When you're compositing, one of the easiest ways to composite, the way you should composite, is to composite from the back forward, right? You don't want to put your sky in front of your hut, all that kind of stuff. So that's how we're going to do it. Let me go ahead and actually render this. Save. I'm going to save as a new version. Save as 4 and render. Hopefully this will render all the layers. It goes pretty quick. And we should have a little bit of everything now. All right, so we've got a sky in here. We've got a hut. And you can see the edges of the hut look really nice, which is exactly what we want. So the sky, right? For the sky, we are going to mix it over. Let's throw that in there and take a look at that. Right now, not looking great, right? But if you set this to screen, you can kind of see it's working its way in there, right? We still got a lot of this mess we've got to clip out, but screen will it kind of lightens it as it puts over it. It doesn't add things. You're not going to get an additive effect, but you will get a lightening effect where things are lighter, and you will notice that the where there was nothing just stays nothing. So what we need is a matte of the sky to kind of cut this out. And if we look at our footage and we go through the channels, you can see the blue channel kind of already provides us with a very nice matte right here. It's kind of built in, right? The sky is mostly white in the blue channel, and all this other stuff is gray, which we can easily make it black. So we're going to use the blue channel to actually create a matte for us to put the screen over. So how do we do this? First, we got to split out the blue channel. Let's go back to this and converter and separate RGBA. This is what you use to split out channels. So now if you look through these, red, green, blue, blue is what we want. We can go ahead and leave it right there. And let's throw in a color ramp, which will let us adjust these colors. You can see if I start dragging the black in, it starts clipping it very nicely. And I'm kind of watching this area up here, what's happening in the darker part of the sky there. And I still kind of want, I don't want to make it super crushed, right? Because I don't want this edge to show up. I kind of want a smoother, I don't mind some gray values in there, right? Like this mountain here, it's going to get a little bit of the sky layer kind of put over it, which if we look at this, the blue channel is, looks like it's about 0.5, value of 0.5, which is perfect because it'll get kind of about half of this kind of put back over it. Which will help blend it in a little bit. And this mountain is so far in the distance that a little extra haze over it isn't going to break anything. But I am concerned about this stuff up here, this compression artifacts. So let's go ahead and drag the white in until those are kind of gone, which looks like right about there. And we may have to animate this, or we may have to, like, let's go to the last frame and take a look. And no, it actually looks really nice. Check the middle. Yeah, everything is looking pretty good here. We've got some brights in her hair that are going to let the sky show through. But if we look at these values, yeah, the value is like 0.78. that will definitely let the sky show through on these highlights on her hair, but we're going to roto her later, so that's not too much of a concern. So let's go ahead and take a look at our composite right there, and we're going to just take this and plug it into the factor. And you can see instantly it already looks pretty dang good, right? So that is easy enough there. Actually, we've only rendered that first frame, so if you go down here and click render to update that, you will see the sky move to the new position. And if you keep an eye on it, if you pre-render your sky and bring it in as a sequence, this will of course update. But the way we're working here with these live 3D layers, we're going to have to manually update that. But you can see it doesn't look too bad, right? If you look at this little bunch of clouds right here, and how nice it is, it's close to that bush there. And if you re-render on another frame, hopefully these will jump down to here, kind of close to that bush. Yep, looks pretty good. So everything should be working fine. It looks nice and blended up here because we left a little bit of gray values in here. If we turn this off and on, you can see that we're not really missing much here where it goes over these mountains. We're not, it's barely noticeable, and the blending up here with these branches just looks great. However, if you would like to turn this down at all, you can very easily add in a math node, set it to multiply, and now this basically becomes a value. How much do you want it over? 1 would be completely, 0 is not over at all. Maybe I'll set it to 0.7-ish, something like that. That looks great. And the sky is done. All right, so next, the hut. Frame 1, right? We have frame 1? Yeah, looks good, huh? Pretty nice. Let's bring in some more things. Let's go shift duplicate that, shift duplicate this. I think it's going to go white. We can turn that off if we want. And the next thing we're going to get is the hut shadow. Plug that in and unmute that. And look at that. Looks wonderful. Yeah, that looks really good, actually. So here's where you can, you have the option to put the, you can put the shadow behind the that hut right there. It's up to you, however you want to do this. I think I will leave it. Let me take a look at that again, what it looked like this way. Oh, if I could get this to work. Come on. Come on, Node Noodles. All right, there you go. Take that. And let's plug these in and see how does that look. Yeah, I think I'm going to go back the other way, actually. Where this one is plugged into here. I'm going to put the hut in front, and the shadow will be under the hut. So that looks very nice. Next, we are going to duplicate again, duplicate this again, mute it, and the next layer will be the bridge. Bring that in. Should drop right in place when we unmute this. There it is. Looks great. And we're running out of space here, so Sebastian would kill me for not just letting that tool do its work. His little slider tool, this thing. But because I like this thing to kind of stay put, I'd rather things go that way. And I know there's a way to do that, right? If I, let's see, if I duplicate this, offset to the right, press T to toggle direction. So if I do that, now it'll offset to the left. So that's fine. And next we want the, we actually don't want to put that there. Let's delete that. And I'm going to grab these things, move them down a little bit. And nothing's going to go behind that, right? So those can kind of stay put. But in here, we kind of want that castle. So let's go ahead and throw this here, duplicate this, and grab the castle, which is right there, plug it in, and there's our castle way, way, way in the background. So you can see now here with the castle, because of the matte channel that's on the castle, we've got a little bit of a glow coming through. It's like the sky brightness is kind of coming through. And that's very easy to fix just by throwing in a transform right there. Do not use translate. stick with transform and set it to bilinear. Then you'll be good to go. And we can set this to maybe -4. Should move down a little bit. Maybe go a little bit lower. And we're going to have to roto. If you decide to use this castle, it looks like we will have to roto the... Look at that. Still won't... there we go. That's not too bad. Well, I like it up here, though, right? That's kind of nice. We might be able to brighten up the alpha or thicken the alpha. You know what? It's fine, actually. You could put a color ramp on the alpha channel and kind of boost that if you'd like. But you know what? We could do it like this. Maybe if I do I don't know if this will actually work and without without switching out the there's no alpha on here. All right, never mind then. We'd have to split out the alpha separately and then correct it and put it back in and all that kind of stuff. So we're just going to leave it for now. I'm going to turn this down to like -0.4. So, oh, geez, no. -10. There we go. That'll work. And we're going to have to roto this mountain later on. And that is it for the matte painting layers, right? What is left? You know what? Maybe we can pull another Luma key, huh? No, it doesn't look like it. Actually, green, blue. Nope, no Luma key. I was thinking we could pull a Luma key off this if the colors were different enough, but doesn't seem to be the case. Come down here. I'm going to plug this into the this little output thing so that I can then use this to view my output. So let's bring in those birds and the fabric stuff that we did. I'm going to go ahead and Shift A and input and image and go here and elements, and I've got birds and fabric. So let's grab that fabric first. And it looks like should be 250 frames, right? 250. Grab the first one, open. Image sequence, frames, 250. Auto refresh, and we are on frame 1. It should be there, and there it is, right? So we're going to look for the hut, castle. Hut should be up here, hut shadow, hut, and there we go. Let's put this, boom, and put that back there. And over top of the hut, we are going to put our fabric, right? Duplicate this and throw the fabric. Just some really basic layering going on for now. So there we have that. Whoa, looks funky, right? Something's not right there. What is it? The edges. If you hit convert, multiply, or pre-mult, I'm sorry, that fixes that. We obviously rendered it out unpre-multiplied, and that fixes it very easily. And we can also throw a blur on here because it does look a little sharp compared to everything else around it. And hopefully the blur doesn't mess with the pre-mult very much, right? It shouldn't. Because if it did, what we could do was pre-mult here, actually. Let's do a filter converter. Alpha convert will pre-multiply right there before it. And then this we can set to 2. And that looks pretty dang good. 3 might even look better. So I think I'm going to leave it at 3. There is our fabric. Next, birds, right? Birds are going to go back here by the castle, right? We've got a castle right here. And if you want, what I like to do is kind of package these up, right? So here's the sky, Control J. Control J puts a frame around things. Grab these ones, Control J. We know this is the castle. And this is the hut, Control J. And these are the fabric things. And then we have our bridge, Control J as well. And we can go through here and color and label these very easily. I closed the window. Actually, it did it like this, for example. We can go color. It's the sky, so I'll make it nice and light blue so I know it's the sky and call it sky. So there you go, sky over top. This one, what is this? Castle. Give it a color if you want. I don't know what, something like that. So anyway, you can go through there and do that. I'll probably do it when I'm not recording the video. Save often. Birds. So let's, birds are going to go back here. So we're going to move this back, move the castle back, and the birds are going to go in here. So we're going to grab, I'm going to duplicate this image sequence node, drag it back here. You see it's bringing the whole thing. Just hit Alt-P and it pulls it out of there. It's super easy. And for this one, we are going to open the birds. And the birds, if you remember correctly, we did not render with an alpha channel. They come in like this, image sequence, and we're going to go 250 again. So now the birds should all be there, right? Updates, yep. There's our little birds, tiny little things. And what we're going to do is we're going to go here, and we're going to paste those over. You know what? Let me update everything. Hit render. Render's pretty quick, right? Just to get all these updated. We can actually speed that up even more. In the sampling, we can set this to like 8, maybe even less, like 6. And that'll speed up even more, right? Boom, 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 boom. And barely, in fact, there's probably no quality degradation because they're emission planes, and emission planes render really nicely and quickly no matter what. So let's throw this over. We're going to use a mix node for this because we don't have an alpha channel. Throw a mix and plug it in right here, and it goes black exactly as expected. But here's, watch this. Watch what we're going to do. Now we're going to unplug this. If you unplug that and you turn this color to black, right? So now it's putting black over. Plug this into the factor instead, and you get black birds up there, right? So now this is simply controlling where they are. That we've basically rendered an alpha channel, and our birds are controlled completely by this color, which we can make anything you want. If you want red birds, there you go. I don't know why you would want red birds. What I like to do for birds is sample something, right? So I'm going to grab the sampler and maybe something something dark in the scene, but still kind of bluish maybe. That doesn't look too bad, right? Yeah, it's not too bad. Maybe it's a little too saturated, but I'm going to leave it for now until we take a look at it. And you can also throw a blur as well on here. Blur and 1, 2, 1, 2. And how's that looking? We can go further on that. 3. And that doesn't look too bad. Right, 4. Yeah, no, 3 is probably fine. 2.5 would actually probably be ideal, but whatever. And again, if you want to control the strength of them, you can do that with this color here. You can also do it again with the multiply. And the multiply, if you take it down to 0, obviously they're gone. I'm going to set it to like 0.75 maybe. And that way they're colored, but they're still kind of like only a little bit over, which is going to be very nice, kind of blending them into the sky as well. And I think I'll leave it there for now, and I'm going to select all these and Control J, and we can call that one birds. And what color are our birds? They're kind of that weird sky color. Well, not really that color, but anyway, something like that. Whatever. Looks great. Save often. And there we go, right? So this is our basic setup, right? We've got the fabric in here looking great. We've got the birds in. Everything's looking pretty good. So we've still got to do some matte work here. Let me go back a few frames here. Render that so it updates. There we go. And you know what? I'm even going to set this lower too. Let's see if there's any kind of degradation difference, just for speed's sake. Yeah, there's a little bit. You can see on the edges it kind of getting grainy. But I think for the preview, this will work fine. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. So let's go ahead and adjust some colors. So one of the first things I'm noticing is if you look at these shadows, they're really dark, right? And this is not as dark. Our little pasted in shadow for our hut doesn't look quite as dark. So let's take a look at that. That's the bridge. This is the fabric, right? Fabric, yes. Let me label that one. Fabric. And give it a color of a nice tan color so we know what that is. And then this is our hut. Hut. And we will give this one also a type of tan color, something a little stronger like that. So we know that shadow is in there, right? The shadow's behind it right here. And what we're going to do is, this is a little trick. Not really a trick, it's kind of a just standard practice, but it's called gamma slamming. And all we do is most compositors have a little viewer slider actually where you can adjust the gain or the gamma of the viewer itself without actually affecting what's going on down here. And that lets you check your brights, your darks, your midtones, kind of everything. You move those all over the place and you see where things are breaking, where shadows aren't working, where bright stuff isn't working. So we can kind of replicate that just by, I'm going to throw in a color correction right here. And hopefully it moves everything to the back. And I'm going to pull that out of there. Put that in there. And of course, let me grab everything and move them all back a little bit. G, like such. And there we go. Just to give a little more space. So in here, if we turn our gain up on the master to say 1.2, you know what? Actually, let's just go 2 or 5 or it only goes to 4. What's that all about? Anyway, you can see here that these shadows are still kind of crushed, right, in the darks, whereas ours is not. Back here, these shadows are looking pretty good. When the matte painting was done, they were dialed in pretty good just in 2D. But these shadows need some work. So leaving this gamma slam on, or this would be a gain slam, I'm going to go back to the hut. And right in here, I'm going to add a... there's a million ways we can do it. First, let's just try it with a contrast and see what happens. This could work right out of the bat, right? If I just turn this contrast up a little bit, we got to convert pre-multiply, right? So now if you can see that's kind of darkening it a bit, right? Let's do it a little bit higher, like 2. Now that went too far. See how that's even... In here, there's still some bright spots, but now we've got the whole thing kind of crushed. So let's go 1.5. Now that kind of looks pretty good. See how there's still some few bright things, but then there's also some crunchy darks, which is kind of what we've got going on here. So that kind of fits in a lot better. So I think we'll leave it there, right? Maybe let's do like 1.3. How's that look? I'm going to go 1.4, maybe a little bit closer. That looks pretty good. I'm going to leave it at the 1.5 actually. I like what that's doing. So that looks pretty good. We can also try and throw this on our hut as well, just because some of these darks in the hut are now way too lifted. So if I just duplicate that, throw it over here, and turn on pre-multiply, and when I mute this, you can see what that's doing a little bit. It's just kind of crunching up the darks. It's doing it over the whole thing, but I don't think that's a bad thing actually. So we can go ahead and leave that there. So now our shadows kind of match a lot better. Let's go ahead and turn this off. Just mute it with M, and you can see things are looking pretty dang good. I'm actually going to adjust this a little bit. Maybe the blurs. Blur might be too high on that. Let's do it down to 2. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of using right? These other ways of this relative stuff. I'd rather it just be like that. I just wish we could do subpixel, you know, like 2.5 would be, or 2.3 would probably be ideal, but we can go ahead and leave it at this. Let me see what's happening here. Nothing's happening there, right? Nothing's happening. It's kind of crunching up our edges a little bit on that thing, right? So what we can do there, or what we can try anyway, see how it's crunching the edges. If we look at these edges right here, see how they're dark a little bit, dark and kind of sharp and jaggy. Whereas if we turn off this, they kind of go back to being a little brighter, a little smoother. Yeah, you can see it right here actually on this bright thing. Watch that; it kind of gets dark. So what we can kind of do, try, well, hopefully this will work, is I'm going to leave off the convert pre-malt up here, and we're going to pre-malt. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to unpre-malt it here with a converter. We're going to go alpha convert, and we're going to. It may actually be already. No, it's not. So let's drop this in here and go pre-malt to straight. So if that's turned off, you can see what happens. And then afterwards, we're going to duplicate that and go back to pre-malt, straight to pre-malt. It should go back to normal. So now if we mute this, right, nothing's happening. We can look, right, so now we're pre-multiplying. Is it still crunchy? I don't believe it is. Yeah, we're looking good. If we turn these on and off, mute, nothing's happening to our edges. So that's exactly what you want to do. You want to unpre-multiply, pre-malt to straight, do your color conversion, then pre-multiply and place it over after that. We should probably technically be doing that here as well, just to be technically correct. Duplicate this up here, turn that off, and duplicate this up here. Just standard compositing procedure. I was actually hoping that in this project it wouldn't rear its head, but apparently it did. So not a big deal. So this fabric, let's take a look at that. I'm going to make a little more space here. I'm going to grab a bunch of these things and move them back again and make a bunch of space in the fabric group. Right, and the blur, and we've got the straight to pre-malt. So on this one, it's already unpre-multiplied for some reason. So we can just do our color corrections here, and I'm going to start with the contrast again. So let's just throw it to 1, see what happens. Let's throw it to 10, see what happens. 3, right? Let's see. If I mute that, taking a look at it, a little bit better, right? I'm also a little concerned with, I feel like this should be brighter. Maybe not, right? I'm looking at it compared to the roof, and it's kind of the same level. But down here, these feel a little brighter. So I'm wondering if we turn this up. No, that is not what we want. What we would want is a color correct. Color correction right there. And let's turn the gain up to like 2. Should get much brighter. So we just maybe want to go like 1.1. Right, a little bit brighter. Hard to tell. 1.2. That's not too bad. A little saturated and color. Where's hue set val? There we go. Saturation 0.8. Probably too far, right? Oh, you know what? That actually looks really nice. Huh. That's looking pretty good, right? I'm digging that. Let's leave it there. All right, so there we go. We've got our layers. We've got our birds, our animated 3D things in here. All we've got to do is create some rotoscopes to clean up some of this overlap, right? Where the map painting elements are over top of things that they shouldn't be over top of. That's a big process. We're going to move on to the next video and take a look at that. But here we go with our big Comp is well underway. Yeah, we're doing JPEGs. Save often, as always, and see you in the next video for some rotoscoping matte creation to get this stuff in the spots where they're supposed to be.